A gray Toronto morning, fresh snow underfoot, and a hard look at trade and border policy on both sides of the line. Later in the brief, the political signal Democrats think they're seeing in one of America's reddest states, and why it's tied to tariffs and immigration enforcement. Toronto's weather first. Cloudy, with snow around the region. Today's range is about -9 to 5 degrees Celsius. And in sports, a rough night for the Leafs in Florida. The Panthers beat Toronto 5-1, with Brad Marchand scoring twice, and Florida adding a shorthanded goal along the way. Toronto's lone goal came from John Tariffs. The backdrop was unusual. A pre-game Olympic gold celebration that included a ceremonial face-off featuring Matthew Tkachuk and Austin Matthews, part of an event the Panthers held before puck drop. Turning now from the familiar to the higher-stakes policy stories that reach into jobs, prices, and travel. Canada's border agency says it's cutting 348 positions tied to its national headquarters, and it's issued 708 workforce adjustment notices. The agency frames this as part of a roughly $52 million budget reduction, with plans to consolidate overlapping corporate functions. The union representing CBSA workers warns these behind-the-scenes jobs still touch core work, commercial and passenger operations, intelligence, and other support that can shape how smoothly the system runs, even if frontline staffing isn't the target. Here's the key point. When border systems get less capacity in the back office, the effects can still show up in the real world. Delays, slower processing, and less resilience when volumes spike. Now to the main thread today, and it's about how trade policy and immigration enforcement can reshape politics in places that normally don't move much. In Iowa, Democrats say they see openings ahead of the November midterms, even though Republicans currently hold both U.S. Senate seats, all 4 House seats, and statewide offices. Their argument is straightforward. 2 pressures are landing at the same time in rural communities. First, tariffs. Reciprocal tariffs linked to Trump-era trade policy have reduced soybean shipments to key markets, including China. An Iowa State University study suggests tariffs could cost as much as 25% of Iowa's $5.8 billion soybean trade. And it's not just lost export sales. Farmers have also been paying more for inputs like seed, fertilizer, and pesticides as trade frictions raise costs. Second, immigration enforcement. Iowa's food processing plants rely heavily on migrant workers. Reports describe workers leaving or staying home out of fear of raids, disrupting the labor force and, by extension, production and local economies. The risk here is a feedback loop. Trade disruption compresses farm income, workforce instability raises costs and slows production, and the combined strain changes what voters prioritize, especially in areas where politics has been more fixed than fluid. And there's a parallel worth noticing from here in Ontario. Provincial analysis continues to point to job losses tied to U.S. tariffs, especially in trade-dependent industries like auto, steel, and aluminum, alongside relief measures like tax deferrals, WSIB premium rebates, and retraining funds. Different governments, different settings, but a similar theme. Tariff policy doesn't stay abstract for long. One more Canada-wide thread to keep on the horizon. Prime Minister Carney is in India, aiming to reset ties and deepen trade, especially energy and other non-U.S. export routes. But the trip is also stirring debate at home, with lingering concerns about foreign interference and whether security issues between the countries are truly resolved. The final piece to watch now: timelines. In the U.S., the midterms are the next test of whether trade and immigration enforcement are changing voting behavior in places like Iowa, or just adding noise. In Canada, watch how quickly border agency cuts translate into operational changes, and whether trade diversification efforts can move from meetings to measurable deals. That's your daily news bite for Saturday, February 28th.